I never imagined my marriage would shatter in the lobby of a Manhattan skyscraper. People talk about heartbreak happening quietly, in private, but mine happened under fluorescent lights and security cameras. I had stopped by Sawyer's office floor to drop off the lunch he forgot. He stood in a small circle of colleagues, laughing, charming, confident. The moment he saw me approaching, he slipped his hand into his pocket so fast I barely noticed the flash of metal disappearing. "My girlfriend Mandy," he said smoothly. "Girlfriend." The word punched the air out of my chest. His co-workers offered polite smiles, someone even waved. Nobody realized they were witnessing my humiliation in real time. I stared at him, waiting for a correction, a joke, something. But Sawyer only tightened his jaw, as if daring me to react. I didn't, not there, not with strangers watching. I handed him the lunch bag with a stiff smile and walked away before my knees collapsed beneath me. On the elevator ride down to my 10th floor office, I caught my reflection in the mirror, pale, shaken, trying to breathe. I wasn't sure yet, but something deep inside me whispered. This wasn't an accident, this was who he really was. And I needed to find out why. Mandy begins suspecting this is only the surface of something deeper. The first person to reach out was the last person I expected, Nelson, Sawyer's best friend. He cornered me near the vending machines that afternoon, anxiety written all over his face. "Mandy, are you okay? I saw what happened." My throat tightened. "You saw him call me his girlfriend in public at our workplace." Nelson nodded slowly, lowering his voice. "He's been different since the new manager arrived." I froze. "What manager?" He hesitated, as if weighing loyalty against morality. "Liana, she joined 3 months ago. Sawyer, been spending a lot of time with her, too much." My stomach twisted. "Are you saying he's cheating?" "I'm saying something is wrong, and you deserve to know." I believed him, until Sawyer stormed into our apartment that night, eyes cold, rage simmering beneath his calm voice. "So you're taking Nelson's side now?" he asked, dropping his briefcase hard enough to echo. "He's jealous of us, Mandy, always has been." "Jealous," I repeated. "Of what? Our marriage you pretend doesn't exist." He didn't answer. He only walked past me, smelling of cologne he never wore at home. In that moment, I realized something terrifying. Sawyer wasn't afraid of lying to me. He was afraid of what I'd discover if I kept digging. Mandy realizes Nelson isn't lying, Sawyer is. Working in the same building as your husband should make you feel closer, but for me it became a map of betrayal. Sawyer's company owned floors 15 through 25. Mine ran from 10 through 24. We weren't just living parallel lives, we were overlapping without ever crossing. Every morning the elevator filled with his co-workers, and every morning I watched the ringless version of Sawyer emerge. By the 3rd day after Nelson's warning, I noticed details I had missed before. Women glancing at him, too long, whispered conversations. A softness in Sawyer's voice he never used with me. The new manager, Liana, worked on floor 22. My office overlapped with hers, but our departments didn't interact. Still, I found myself walking the long way around my floor just to see if anything felt off. It did. People went silent when I walked by. Eyes followed me too quickly. Even the intern at the coffee station refused to meet my gaze. Something was happening on the upper floors, and I was the only one not meant to know. That afternoon I opened Sawyer's tablet, the one he never let me touch. The passcode had changed. My heart dropped. He was hiding something, and he wasn't even trying to hide the fact that he was hiding it. The tablet becomes Mandy's turning point. Sawyer came home unusually cheerful that night. He kissed my cheek, poured himself a drink, and talked about his busy day. But all I could hear was the passcode he changed, the ring he removed, the name Liana echoing through my head. I tested the waters. "Did anything interesting happen today?" He paused mid-sip. "No, just meetings." "Any new managers giving you trouble?" I asked casually. His eyes sharpened. "Why would you ask that?" I shrugged. "Building gossip, you know how people talk." He set down his glass and walked toward me slowly, as if approaching a threat he didn't want to provoke. "Nelson told you something else, didn't he?" "No," I lied, He cut me off. "Don't listen to him, he hates seeing us happy." I stared at his bare left hand. Then why did you introduce me as your girlfriend? His jaw worked. I didn't think it mattered. Didn't matter. I turned away so he wouldn't see the fury building behind my ribs. Marriage mattered, respect mattered, I mattered. But Sawyer clearly didn't think so. That night, while he showered, I went back to the tablet. And this time I guessed the passcode. It worked. Mandy gains access to something Sawyer never intended her to see. Inside the tablet was a folder labeled policies, but every file inside had been renamed with numbers. Suspicious, organized, hidden. Buried halfway through was a document with bold letters. D. Draft filings. Divorce draft. My name, his name, proposed asset division, projected timeline. He was planning to leave me while still pretending I didn't exist. My hands shook, my eyes burned, but something inside me hardened not into heartbreak but into clarity. I wasn't losing my marriage. I was losing an illusion. The next morning I didn't cry. I dressed sharply, walked into our building like I owned all 50 floors, and took my lunch break somewhere different, a small cafe beside the skyscraper that I'd visited every day for 2 years. Except this time I wasn't alone. A man sat at the table beside mine, tall, calm, reading through a stack of documents stamped with the logo of Sawyer's company. He lifted his eyes to me, sharp blue, assessing. Rough day, he asked softly. I almost didn't respond, but something about him made honesty slip out. You have no idea. He smiled slightly. Try me. I didn't know it yet, but this was Declan, Sawyer's CEO. And the man who would change everything. Mandy unknowingly meets the man who will become her ally, and later, her lover. Declan didn't act like a stranger. He looked at me the way people look when they've already drawn conclusions and are waiting to see if they're right. You look like someone who's carrying too much, he said, closing the file in front of him. I exhaled. You could say that. He chuckled quietly. New York has a way of chewing people up, especially in corporate buildings. My heart skipped. You work in one. In a sense, he replied, his tone calm but unreadable. We talked for 10 minutes, longer than I'd planned. Longer than I ever talked to strangers. There was something grounding about him, something steady, something that made my spiraling thoughts slow down. But then he said something that caught me off guard. You work on the lower floors, don't you? Around 10-12. I blinked. How did you know? He smiled. You have the posture of someone who holds everything together for everyone else. Before I could respond, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it and his expression shifted, becoming sharp and calculating. I have to take this, he said softly, but I hope today gets easier for you. He stood, and as he walked away, my eyes drifted down to the folder he slipped into his briefcase. The company logos. Sawyer's company. And beneath it, the embossed name. Declan Walsh, Chief Executive Officer. My heart stopped. Mandy realizes she just opened up to Sawyer's CEO. Learning Declan's identity didn't frighten me, it intrigued me. Because if anyone knew the truth about Sawyer's behavior at work, it was him. The next day, the building felt different. Every elevator ride felt like a puzzle I was solving piece by piece. Every glance from Sawyer's co-workers felt like a clue. On floor 22, Liana's floor, I saw her for the first time. Tall, confident, expensive perfume trailing behind her. She walked like a woman who expected the world to rearrange for her. And beside her, Sawyer. He didn't see me at first, or maybe he pretended not to. But when he finally noticed me standing near the elevator bank, his expression flashed with something sharp and territorial. Hey, he said tightly, you shouldn't be up here. It's a shared building, I replied. Liana raised an eyebrow, studying me like I was an unexpected variable. Sawyer stepped closer, forcing a smile. Why don't you head back to your floor? I'll see you at home. That was it. No introduction. No acknowledgement. As if I was an inconvenience, he needed to move out of the hallway. I stepped back into the elevator, refusing to give him the satisfaction of a reaction. But as the doors slid shut, Liana's voice drifted through the narrowing gap. She seems sweet. Sawyer's reply. She's not really part of my life at work. My chest burned. Sawyer wasn't just removing his ring. He was removing me. Mandy realizes Sawyer is erasing her existence at work. Nelson found me again, this time in the parking garage, packing like a man who had held in a secret too long. Please don't walk away, he said breathlessly. I know Sawyer will twist this, but you need the truth. I folded my arms, I'm listening. He swallowed hard. The affair with Liana, it's not new, it didn't start when she joined the company. It started before and he helped her get the position. My heart lurched. What? He's been grooming the situation for months, Nelson continued. Changing his behavior, taking off the ring, introducing you inconsistently. He's been building a single-man persona. And the divorce filing, I whispered. Nelson froze. You know about that? I nodded. He ran a shaking hand through his hair. Mandy, he's planning to walk away clean. He wants the company to see him as unattached. He wants Liana without the baggage of a marriage. The elevator chimed somewhere in the distance, echoing like a warning. What should I do? I whispered. Nelson looked at me with a mix of guilt and fear. Whatever you do, be careful. Sawyer isn't violent, but he's selfish, and selfish people don't break cleanly. Before I could respond, someone else's footsteps echoed across the concrete floor. Slow, purposeful. Declan. His eyes flicked between Nelson and me, instantly reading the tension. Everything all right here? He asked. No, nothing was all right. And Declan knew it. Declan witnesses Mandy's unraveling truth. Declan stepped closer, hands in his pockets, voice steady. If something is happening that affects one of my employees, he said, I need to know. I hesitated, but he gently pulled me aside, out of Nelson's hearing range. You don't have to tell me everything, Declan said quietly. Just, is someone mistreating you inside the building? That question broke a dam inside me. It's my husband, I whispered. He works here and he's not who everyone thinks he is. Declan's expression didn't change, but I sensed tension coil beneath his calm exterior. Walk with me, he said. We took the elevator up, not to Sawyer's floor, not to mine, but to the building's rooftop terrace reserved for executives. New York stretched out before us, endless and bright, as if daring us to speak the truth. You don't owe me personal details, Declan said gently, but you seemed hurt yesterday. I exhaled, eyes stinging. I found divorce papers, a draft. He's been cheating, lying, pretending he's single at work. For the first time, a spark flickered in Declan's eyes, anger, sharp and controlled. I see, he murmured. He didn't give empty sympathy. He didn't give clichés. Instead, he said something unexpected. You deserve someone who stands beside you, not behind closed office doors. My heart thudded painfully. Sawyer never saw me. But Declan did. Declan's concern feels personal. The terrace air was cold, but my skin burned from the weight of Declan's attention. Something about the way he looked at me made me feel seen, not pitied, seen. He studied me for a long moment. Mandy, does he know you found the documents? No. Good, he said. Keep it that way, don't confront him yet. I frowned. Why not? Because men like Sawyer only show their true face when they think they're in control. A shiver ran through me, not fear but recognition. Declan wasn't just giving advice. He was helping me think strategically. He turned toward the skyline. If you ever need space or someone neutral to talk to, my door is open. Why would you help me? I asked softly. Declan's jaw tightened slightly. Because I don't like people being treated carelessly, especially not women who give everything and get crumbs in return. My breath caught. Before I could respond, his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, then sighed. I have to handle something on floor 25, he said. But Mandy, take care of yourself and remember what I said. As he walked away, the city wind whipped around me. Something had shifted. Sawyer had started a war he didn't know I was preparing for. And Declan had just taken his place at my side, whether Sawyer liked it or not. Mandy now has an unexpected ally, one her husband answers to. By the time I reached home that night, I already knew something would be different. Sawyer walked in an hour later smelling of a perfume I didn't own and didn't wear. Soft, floral, expensive. Long day, he said casually, dropping his jacket on the couch. I studied him. Where were you? Meetings, on floor 22. He stiffened just slightly. Why would you ask me that? Because that scent isn't from our home. His eyes narrowed. You're becoming paranoid again, Mandy. This is why I don't tell you anything. He grabbed his phone and walked into the bedroom, shutting the door behind him. A minute later, his voice slipped beneath the crack. Yeah, no, she doesn't know. I told you she won't be a problem. My chest constricted. So I wasn't a wife. I wasn't a partner. I was an obstacle he planned to silently eliminate. But something inside me had changed. I wasn't the Mandy who cried in the elevator or shook in the lobby. I was the Mandy who had a CEO's attention. A CEO who already suspected something. And I had no intention of letting Sawyer realize that. Sawyer talks about Mandy like she's disposable. The next day I arrived at the building earlier than usual, hopping to avoid Sawyer. But fate or something else intervened. The elevator doors opened on floor 18 and there stood Declan. He raised an eyebrow. Morning, early start. I swallowed the flutter in my chest, something like that. Walk with me, he asked. We ended up at the cafe again, this time sitting across from each other as if we'd done it 100 times. His presence was quiet but powerful, not overbearing, not intrusive. You look tired, he said gently. Tired of pretending, I admitted. Declan leaned forward. Mandy, you don't have to fight this alone. His phone buzzed, he ignored it. I hesitated. If I tell you what I found, it will affect someone in your company. Then it's even more important I hear it, he replied. I didn't say everything, not yet, but I told him enough. Sawyer's lies, the ring disappearance, the way he erased me in front of co-workers. Declan exhaled slowly, anger flashing in his eyes. Unacceptable. Something shifted in the space between us, not romantic yet, but intimate in a way I couldn't ignore. When we parted, he touched my hand lightly. Not a grab, not possession, just acknowledgement. I'm here, he said. And I believed him. Declan begins taking Mandy's pain personally. That afternoon, I caught a break I didn't expect. Someone forwarded an internal memo to my department by mistake. A memo from floor 25, addressed to senior management. I almost deleted it until I saw the sender, Liana Hart. The subject line. Weekend travel adjustments, Sawyer and I. My throat dried, I opened it. Inside was a list of travel reservations for an upcoming conference in Chicago. Sawyer and Liana were booked to travel together, sharing the same executive itinerary. Their reservations were approved by HR weeks ago. I felt a cold calm settle over me. He wasn't planning to leave me. He had already left emotionally, professionally, physically. He was simply waiting for the paperwork to catch up. I forwarded the email to myself, then deleted all traces from the system. Down the hall, co-workers whispered behind closed doors. Word was spreading. You could always tell by how people avoided eye contact. Sawyer was weaving a fantasy of bachelor life on the upper floors. But fantasies crack under pressure. Especially when the CEO starts asking questions. And I knew Declan would, I saw it in his eyes. Mandy now has proof that Sawyer and Liana are presenting themselves as a pair, at executive level. Rumors in corporate buildings rise like heat. By midweek, something was circulating. People whispered when I walked into rooms. Some gave sympathetic looks, others seemed eager for drama. At lunch, a co-worker approached me hesitantly. Hey, are things okay with your husband? My stomach tightened. Why do you ask? She bit her lip, because people on the upper floors, they've been talking about Sawyer, about Liana. And what exactly are they saying? She blushed, lowering her voice. That he's single, that he's seeing someone new, and that the CEO might not be happy about fraternization. My heart jolted. Why the CEO? I asked, pretending ignorance. She shrugged. Word is he's been asking questions, that he's watching people closely lately. Declan, He wasn't staying neutral. When I left the cafeteria, I saw Sawyer at the elevator. He stepped out, smiling wide until he saw me. Then his face tightened. "Why are you here?" he hissed. "Stop walking around like you own this place." I stepped closer, refusing to flinch. "I work here, remember." He scoffed, "Not for long." "What does that mean?" I asked. He didn't answer. But the smirk he left with chilled me. Sawyer implies a threat, and Mandy realizes he's plotting something bigger. Declan called me to his office late that afternoon. His assistant ushered me into a room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, and Declan standing with his back turned, hands in his pockets. He spoke without looking at me. "There's talk in the upper levels, talk about Sawyer, talk about you." My breath caught. "About me?" He turned. "Someone is spreading a narrative that you're unstable, that you've been causing scenes." The air left my lungs. "Sawyer," I whispered. Declan nodded, expression darkening. "He's positioning himself as a victim, and he's doing it strategically." I swallowed hard. "Why tell me?" "Because I don't want you blindsided," he said softly, "and because I don't like seeing you hurt." His voice lowered. "And because I think you deserve far better than the man trying to silence you." Something cracked open inside me at those words, something fragile and hopeful. Before I left, he stepped closer, his voice dropping. "Mandy, if things get worse, I want you to come to me first. Not HR, not anyone else." "Why?" I breathed. His answer sent a shiver through me. "Because I'd fight harder for you than anyone else would." Declan's feelings are no longer subtle, and Sawyer's attacks are becoming bold. The moment that changed everything didn't happen in an office or a conference room. It happened in an elevator. I stepped in on floor 10, the doors closing just as Sawyer and Liana rushed toward them. For a heartbeat, I hoped they wouldn't make it. But they did. They stood on opposite ends of the elevator, pretending not to be together. Pretending for me or pretending for the cameras. Sawyer cleared his throat. "Mandy." I didn't answer. Liana offered a polite smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. Her perfume, that same floral scent, filled the small space. Sawyer spoke again, tone clipped. "We should all be mature about this." "Mature," I repeated softly. "You mean honest, transparent, faithful." His jaw tightened. Liana looked away. We stopped on floor 18. The doors opened, revealing Declan standing there, arms crossed, eyes locked on Sawyer like he was reading every lie on his face. "Going up?" Declan asked. Sawyer swallowed. "We're actually—" "I wasn't talking to you," Declan said, turning to me. "Mandy." I stepped forward. Declan placed a steadying hand on my back as I exited. Sawyer stared, stunned. Liana's smile faded. And in that one delicate movement, Declan claiming me without touching the boundary, the power shifted. Sawyer felt it. I knew it. And Declan definitely intended it. Sawyer witnesses the growing connection between Mandy and the man he answers to. Declan walked me toward his office, silent for a long moment. "You don't have to explain what happened," he finally said. "I saw enough." My pulse raced. I didn't want to cause trouble. "You didn't," his jaw tightened. "He did." Inside his office, he poured me water, then sat across from me with a seriousness that made my skin prickle. "I'm going to ask you something," he said, "and I want you to answer honestly." I nodded. "Do you feel safe with him?" The question stunned me. "I'm not afraid he'll hurt me physically," I whispered. "I'm afraid he'll destroy me quietly." Declan exhaled. "Then allow me to be clear, he won't." Something inside me softened, and something else hardened, like steel being forged. But as I left his office, I saw Sawyer down the hall, watching us. Watching me leave Declan's office. His face was pale, tight, panicked. That night at home, he exploded. "What were you doing with him?" he demanded. "Talking." "About what?" I met his glare. "My life." Sawyer slammed a hand against the counter. "You're sabotaging everything. You're making me look bad at work." "Funny," I said quietly. "You didn't need my help to do that." His fury cracked, and beneath it, for the first time I saw fear. Sawyer realizes Mandy is no longer under his control. The next day, I received another email by accident, or maybe fate was simply tired of protecting Sawyer. It was an updated Chicago conference schedule. Again with Liana. Again with joint accommodations. But this time something new was attached. A note addressed to HR. Please process these arrangements discreetly. Sawyer has personal matters he prefers not to discuss. Ileana Hart. Personal matters. Meaning me. The marriage he denied. The woman he planned to discard privately, while presenting himself as Liana's partner publicly. My blood iced. At lunch, I went to the cafe again, not because I expected Declan, but because I needed calm. And he was there. He looked up instantly. You're upset. I handed him my phone with the email open. His face darkened as he read. He's crossing lines, professional lines, ethical lines. Declan, what is he doing exactly? He leaned back, eyes sharp. He's violating company policy and putting Liana in a compromising position and risking a scandal that could damage the entire executive chain. I swallowed. And you? His voice was low, controlled. I don't tolerate deception in my company. A slow realization washed over me. Declan wasn't just concerned. He was preparing for something. And Sawyer had no idea the ground beneath him was beginning to crack. The corporate consequences of Sawyer's affair begin to surface. That night, Sawyer tried to be sweet. Tried to cook. Tried to hold me. I didn't respond. Finally, he snapped. What do you want from me, Mandy? The truth, I said. He laughed bitterly. The truth, fine. Our marriage isn't working. I've grown, you haven't. I want someone who fits my future. Like Liana. His eyes widened. He hadn't expected me to say it so calmly. You deserve someone else anyway, he said. Someone boring, someone simple. My throat tightened, not with hurt but with confirmation. Sawyer didn't break me. He revealed himself. I'm done explaining myself to you, he said coldly. You'll hear from my lawyer next week. It was finally out. Spoken aloud. Final. He walked into the bedroom, closing the door. I sat alone on the couch, letting the silence settle, not collapsing, not shaking. Just done. The woman he expected to fall apart didn't exist anymore. And in that moment, a message buzzed on my phone. Declan, are you all right? For the first time in months, I felt the smallest spark of hope. Because someone powerful cared about the truth. Sawyer ends the marriage verbally, and Declan steps in emotionally. The next morning, I walked into the building with a straight back and steady breath. Sawyer didn't know I had taken screenshots of the emails. He didn't know I had access to his tablet's hidden files. He didn't know I had the ear of the one man he desperately wanted to impress. But Declan knew. He met me on floor 25, expression unreadable but eyes burning with purpose. Walk with me, he said. He led me into a private conference room, soundproof, glass-tinted, overlooking the entire city. Mandy, he said, turning to face me. What you showed me, what you told me, it's not just personal, it's professional misconduct at the highest level. I swallowed. What happens now? That depends, he said. Do you want to handle this quietly, or do you want accountability? My pulse pounded. Accountability. Declan nodded slowly. Then this is where we start. He placed a folder on the table, a compiled report of Sawyer's inconsistencies, Liana's misuse of authority, and HR violations. My breath caught. You all ready? Yes, he said softly, because I told you I don't stand by while women like you are mistreated. Our eyes locked. The air between us shifted again, warmer, deeper, undeniable. This wasn't just corporate strategy. This was protection. This was partnership. This was the beginning of everything Sawyer never saw coming. Declan and Mandy formally begin the revenge arc together. Declan scheduled a closed-door compliance review for the next morning, inviting select executives, HR, and one person whose presence would make Sawyer sweat. Me. When I walked into the glass conference room, Sawyer's face drained of color. Mandy, what are you doing here? He whispered sharply. I sat down calmly, witness. His lips parted in shock. Liana looked confused, tapping her pen nervously. People always looked poised until they realized they were being evaluated, not adored. Declan entered last, crisp suit, steady aura, commanding silence with just his presence. His eyes flicked briefly to me, a silent reassurance before he addressed the room. We have concerns, he said, voice even but cold. Concerns regarding conduct, misrepresentation, and misuse of company resources. Sawyer shifted in his seat. Concerns about what? Declan didn't answer him directly. Instead, he tapped the stack of documents before him, the same ones I'd helped uncover. Let's begin. As the review unfolded, Sawyer's charm evaporated. His explanations faltered. Liana's confidence disintegrated. Every lie Sawyer had carefully built inside the company began cracking under the weight of facts. And for once, I didn't feel like the invisible wife witnessing his double life. I felt like the storm at the center of it. Sawyer senses he's losing control, and Declan is no longer hiding whose side he's on. The review continued for hours, each revelation landing harder than the last. Emails, unauthorized bookings, conflicting statements, inconsistent marital disclosures. HR leaned forward. Sawyer, why did you report yourself as single to upper management? Sawyer stuttered. It was a mistake. On 7 separate forms, Declan asked quietly. Sawyer froze. Liana tried to jump in. This seems personal. It became professional, Declan cut in, the moment workplace policies were violated. Sawyer glared at him. Why do you care so much? Declan didn't even blink. Because this company doesn't reward deceit. The room stilled. Sawyer's eyes darted to me, desperate now. Mandy, tell them we're just having issues, tell them. I sat straight. I'm not covering for you anymore. He exhaled like I'd stabbed him. And just like that, the last piece of leverage he thought he had, my silence, shattered. Declan closed his file. We'll conclude this review tomorrow. HR will notify all parties of next steps. As everyone stood, I felt Sawyer's stare burning into my back. But when I stepped out into the hallway, Declan fell into step beside me. You handled that with strength, he murmured. I didn't feel strong. You were. And then unexpectedly, softly, he touched my hand. Not claiming. Honoring. Sawyer loses his grip, while Mandy and Declan's bond becomes impossible to ignore. The next morning, New York air felt different, sharp, cold, cleansing. I dressed with intention, neutral colors, clean lines, no fear. When I arrived at the office, whispers followed me, but they no longer pierced me. People weren't whispering about the abandoned wife. They were whispering about the woman who walked into an executive review beside the CEO. Sawyer stormed into my office around noon. You're ruining my life, he hissed, slamming the door shut. I didn't flinch. You ruined your own life. You went to Declan, you fed him lies. I gave him truth, I said. You should try it sometime. His face twisted. You think he cares about you, you think you matter to him. Before I could reply, someone knocked sharply. Sawyer whipped around. Declan stood in the doorway, tall, unbothered, and absolutely done. This conversation is over, Declan said, voice low but slicing. If you need to speak to Mandy again, go through HR. Sawyer sputtered, you can't. I can, Declan replied, and I am. Sawyer looked between us in disbelief, at the distance between us, and the closeness he could not explain. When he finally stormed out, Declan turned to me, eyes softening. You handled that perfectly, he said. Did I whispered. Yes, he breathed, and I'm proud of you. Something in me cracked open, something warm, something new, something finally free. Sawyer realizes Declan's feelings for Mandy, and it terrifies him. The tension on floor 25 was electric, the kind of electricity right before lightning strikes. Sawyer arrived early, dressed too sharply, trying too hard. Liana came separately, eyes hollow with dread. Declan led the meeting. This time he didn't need hours. We've completed our internal investigation, he said, sliding documents to HR. Our conclusions are unanimous. Sawyer swallowed. Conclusions. Misrepresentation, Declan said, personal misconduct, breach of interdepartment boundaries, and compromising a subordinate. My breath stilled, not because I didn't expect it, but because Declan was no longer gentle. He was delivering justice. HR nodded. Effective immediately, Sawyer Hartman will be suspended pending final decision. Sawyer's mouth fell open. Sisp, what? No, you can't. You did this, Declan said quietly. Liana was next, not fired but reassigned, demoted, removed from her fast-tracked position, her face crumbled. And for the first time since this nightmare began, I didn't feel small. I felt seen. As we left the room, Declan walked beside me, not touching, but close enough for everyone to understand the shift in power. Sawyer stared after us, as if the world he built was collapsing brick by brick. Because it was. And he had no idea how much further he still had to fall. The news spread through the building by lunchtime. Sawyer suspended. Liana reassigned. Review completed. By afternoon, Sawyer texted me. We need to talk. Please. I'm begging you. But I didn't respond. Instead, I walked out of the building and found Declan waiting near the entrance, no suit jacket, sleeves rolled, hands in his pockets, looking at me like I was the only person he'd spent the entire week thinking about. You okay? He asked, stepping closer. Eyes him now. He nodded, studying my face with care. You deserve peace, Mandy, and whatever comes next, you deserve that too. I hesitated only for a heartbeat before saying the truth that had been building quietly, steadily, inevitably. I don't want to face what comes next alone. Declan's expression softened, not surprised but relieved. You won't, he said, not if you don't want to. The city hummed around us, taxis rushing, steam rising from vents, people living their lives unaware that mine had just shifted again, but this time not from betrayal. From possibility. From strength. From a man who didn't pretend I didn't exist. Sawyer lost everything he took for granted. And I found something I didn't expect. A new beginning.